Okay, welcome back to episode 3. I guess this is the third session of episode 3. In the previous two episodes, we have been working on this crow painting. In the first video, you'll see the underpainting being made. Last video, we worked on establishing more of the contrast and depth in the painting. We've added a lot of dark shapes in the foreground to make a more pleasing composition and to add depth. In this episode, we're going to start refining more. So, what that means is I will work on establishing the crow probably a lot. A lot of this background is still just texture and hasn't been really painted in as I wanted. So we're starting to work slower now. We're getting more into details. This is where it takes more focus and concentration to get the painting done. So let's just jump in and I'll walk you through it. Some of this will be time lapse, and some of it I'll stop and I'll talk you through it with words if I feel like there's something that should be said. But mostly, I want you to learn from watching. Um, we'll just see how it goes. Okay, here we go. So one of the things I want to do here is fix the shape of my crow a little bit. I don't like how his tail comes out here. The shape I think is a little funky. I don't want to get too far into detailing the crow right now because I still have a lot of work to do on the background, and we generally want to work back to front. That means I'm going to do the background because the crow is on top of the background, and that will affect this nice edge that I'm going to paint here. But I do want to, before I continue, just make sure that I like the design of my crow. So that's why I'm doing this step first. Try not to get carried away with details yet. It can be hard. Sometimes we get sucked in. I know exactly how it is. The shape of the crow still seems a little off. I think he's a little fat down here. So I'm going to use some of this lighter blue to cut into what I've done. And I'm not trying to get the shape perfect, but I do want to remodel him a little bit. Okay, that's enough with the crow for now. Let's look at our background. How can we better define this background? I have to decide where the foliage ends and where my sky begins, basically. So I'm just going to start working. I have a hint of these brush strokes here. I don't know if you can really see them very well, but I'm going to make these into maybe some tall grasses or thin branches or something. I want a little contrast to these bigger broadleaf shapes. But I'm seeing them in the distance a little bit through some atmosphere, and so I'm not going to make them too sharp looking. So by spraying the canvas a little bit, my paint will, this is just a spray bottle of water. Um, just by wetting the canvas, I'm going to allow the paint to spread a little bit easier. It'll dry a little slower. Let's see, I think I'm going to use kind of a larger round brush. This is number 10 round Princeton. See what Payne's Gray looks like. I'm using a little of my trusty satin glazing liquid. I don't know if you can see that, by Golden. Very good stuff. It slow drying and extender for acrylic colors, it says right there. So it slows the dry time. It also thins the paint a little bit without lowering the viscosity too much. Makes it spread a little bit easier. I like it a lot. So let's see if this is our color we want to use. Get some sharper lines. I'm trying this angle shader brush. Say, no idea what size that is. One of the challenges of painting nature scenes is to keep things looking natural and not too man-made, not too exact and careful. It's a tricky balance of um, I don't know, being careful and thoughtful about your brush strokes, but also kind of getting lost and just letting go and making textures, layers and layers of textures will end up getting you results that are that you couldn't achieve by going in with a tiny brush and detailing every little you know bit of moss and everything. And don't be afraid to take a few steps back and study your painting. You want to get some distance. Do that fairly often. Stand back and look at it. You get lost in the details when you're up close painting. Let's have a closer look. You can get it without a lot of glare. The bird, he's still pretty rough. So you might be able to tell the paint is very thin. I do layers and layers of thin paint, building texture and shape and contrast. Okay, we're back after changing the SD card. I am starting to work on modeling the sky more. I want to get some more interesting shape and depth out of the sky. So, using this round brush, I'm going to wipe some paint off. I just want a little bit on the brush. And instead of using the tip like this to dry in, I'm laying the brush sideways and just kind of scrubbing. And if I need to blend a little bit, I have this dry, soft brush that will take some of the edges off. And so I'm just slowly going in and bringing out some interesting shapes that I like from the textures that are already there. Trying to imagine how the clouds look and where my foliage ends here, which this is all back in atmosphere already. It's not necessarily right behind the bird. And so I'm trying to decide, how does the sky blend into this? And I think it's going to be sort of a soft, undefined line there. I don't want anything too defined. It'll break our sense of, I don't know, it could challenge our sense of depth in the painting, maybe. Sometimes I use the tip of the brush a little bit, but just do whatever feels right. Just know that if you lay the brush on the edge and scrub, you'll get a much, especially on canvas, you're going to get a softer, more diffused look, which is good when we have a lot of fog and smoke. We don't want sharp edges. So I'm really pushing my atmosphere here by almost no paint on the brush. I'm with white. I'm just scrubbing some of these darker areas to lighten them and thus push them back into the fog just a bit or as much as I want. Okay, well, that wraps it up for this third session of episode 3, Painting with Moksha. We've been working on this crow painting. By we, I mean me. You've been watching, I hope. Anyway, as you can see, I've added a lot of detail. I'm continuing to add contrast and depth. Painting is pretty monochromatic still at this point, with some variations of purples and cyans and so on. But there's much more work to be done here, but I think you get the idea for now. If you've got your own painting going, keep working at this level everywhere you can, bringing out more and more detail in the painting. In the last episode of this painting, I'll show you how to finish it, finishing touches and other such things. It'll be exciting. So thank you for watching, and if you have enjoyed this video, please subscribe and stay tuned for the final episode of episode 3, Painting with Moksha. Thank you, good night, or good morning.